Ladies and gentlemen, drivers, gig workers, and everyone in between, welcome to This Week in Rideshare podcast. I'm your host, Jared Hoffa. It is Friday, April 12th, and this week, Robotaxis hit LA, new features for women, and Minneapolis takes a pause. Legal Rideshare breaks it down. And from Legal Rideshare, I'm joined by the co-founder and lead attorney, Bryant Greening. Bryant, happy Friday.
Happy Friday, Jared. Great to be here.
It is great to be here. These are three topics that we have discussed in length before, but a lot of them have interesting twists this week. I think it's, I don't know how you feel. We'll obviously talk about it, but not the direction I thought any of these were going to go, to be honest.
Yeah, a lot of surprises. Let's chat it out and get the thoughts.
Yeah, so we've talked about this before. We're going to jump right into it. We'll start off with this first article this week. Waymo reaches Los Angeles. So robotaxis have hit LA. And this is from NBC News. They reported, quote, Waymo said Tuesday that more than 50,000 people were on its wait list to use the service. The company did not say how many users it would allow to fully use the app starting Wednesday. Last month, the company said it was starting with a Los Angeles fleet of fewer than 50 cars, covering a 63 square mile area from Santa Monica to downtown LA. So, Bryant, this is, we have spoken about this so much, saying that they're not ready. And I guess, they're just going to pull an Uber. Uber's going to pull an Uber, right? Is that what's happening?
I think that's the best way to put it. So way back when Uber decided, we're just going to barrel our way into cities. We don't care about regulation. We don't care if we're disrupting the taxi industry. We're just going to do it our own way and everybody can catch up. And what we're seeing now with autonomous vehicles is the same game plan. I think everyone would agree that the technology is not there yet. We're not at a position where, people can operate, I guess robots can operate these vehicles safely. There's all sorts of accidents that happen on all the various companies that are trying to do this. But nevertheless, the cars are going out onto the roads. They are, they're putting real people inside of them. They're putting real people at risk outside of them. And I am all but certain there's going to be negative repercussions. The industry is pushing forward regardless, and we'll see how the technology changes, but there's going to be a lot of hiccups along the way, and those hiccups may very well be real injuries and honestly devastation for some.
Yeah, I've seen a few articles this week about other kind of robotaxi services starting up. The other ones, however, they still had the human driver in the front kind of monitoring, although we've seen that also isn't very successful. But this, they're saying Waymo has no human drivers at all. There's no one present. There's no one in the front seat. There's no one checking on the system. Nothing.
That's scary. I think that the human component of it is that makes sense to me. So there has to be testing of autonomous vehicles. Eventually, they're going to have to go on the road. I understand that. This is the future. There's no question about that. That said, until all the kinks are worked out, until we know exactly what the dangers are, how these things are malfunctioning, what causes them to get in accidents, there needs to be somebody there to push the brake or to swerve the wheel or whatever might be necessary to ensure the safety of the people inside and outside the car. I'm 100% on board that someday these things are going to be safer than the human driver. They're not going to drive drunk. They're not going to drive drowsy. They're going to pay attention to every single thing that's going on around them. But that's not the case right now. We need the robot and the human to work together until the technology is safe enough to move the human out of the car.
Yeah, 100%. And we're going to obviously keep monitoring this. They just started. I know there's only 50 on the road, but there's no way this is the end of this article. We will definitely probably be talking about this as early as next week to see what happens. Crazy stuff. We're going to move on to Tuesday. These are Uber safety aimed at women. So Uber is dialing up safety features for women. And this is from Yahoo Finance. And they reported, quote, Uber Technologies said on Wednesday that it is boosting its safety features for passengers around the world as it looks to minimize risk and ensure security for women at night. The feature allows passengers during a ride to select up to 4 safety preferences, including encrypted audio recordings, PIN verifications, and live location sharing. Now, Brian, certainly tell me if I'm wrong here, but wasn't this already employed? I'm confused here. They're saying this is new.
Yeah, we've seen these features deployed on both of the apps actually, for some time, and I'm not really sure if Uber's pushing this as an attempt to get some publicity on what it's doing for safety, to reintroduce it to its user base, or perhaps in some areas of the country and of the world these were not features. I know that in various jurisdictions these have been available safety features for some time. Let me give credit where credit's due. We spent a lot of time on this show talking about Uber and Lyft not doing enough to encourage safety. These are helpful features. These are features that can help people who find themselves in scary situations. These are features that can help deter potential bad actors from acting that way. So whether they're new or not new, or this is being pushed for marketing purposes or not, I don't really care. I'm glad that they're there. I'm glad that they're making people aware that these features exist, because if they can help keep one person safe, then great. Then they're worth it. So while we typically tend to fall on the side of anti-company in these situations where we're seeing safety features go into the app and be advertised on the app, bravo.
Yeah, and we've discussed this in the past, and it mentioned it in the article that Uber said in 2022 it had 3,800 reports of severe sexual assault in the U.S. And that's down. The good news is it says it's down from nearly 6,000 in 2019. I mean 3,800 is terrible, but 6,000 is insane.
Yeah,
So it's working. I mean, that's a good sign.
well, I think that's the point, is the more that they do to encourage safety, the closer that number can get to zero. So is this a good step? Absolutely. Is this the final step? No, it's not. Like, let's continue to innovate. Let's continue to find ways to educate drivers and passengers on how to act and behave inside the vehicle. We don't want anyone to get hurt. We don't want drivers to be victims. We don't want passengers to be victims. And we have this technology company who has the resources to put in the technology, to put in the money, to do everything that we possibly can to make these rides as safe as possible. So great job in putting these safety features in. Let's keep going.
Right, and I feel like we can't end this week in rideshare recently without talking about Minneapolis. This just keeps getting crazier. So, Minneapolis, the title here is that they delayed the ordinance, so Uber is not leaving Minneapolis just yet. Now, this is from NPR News. They reported, quote, the Minneapolis City Council voted Thursday to delay the implementation of an ordinance that required higher pay for rideshare drivers by 2 months. The move temporarily averts the departure of rideshare companies Uber and Lyft, who have threatened to stop service in the city if the ordinance is enacted. The city council members voted unanimously to reconsider the ordinance after pressure from rideshare companies and advocates for people who are disabled, as well as concerns from the rideshare business. Now, Brian, I guess I didn't see this coming. Now, I didn't look at the data on this. I mean, this is getting a lot of news. I mean, we covered it, and we first saw it in NPR. I'm seeing it nationally now that this is a big deal. I guess my question is: it because rideshare is just so much larger than it was during the Austin years? I mean, isn't Austin a larger city than Minneapolis when this happened?
Yeah, I don't know the data, the city size, but I can tell you that rideshare is bigger. And when Uber and Lyft left Austin, it was newer. There were fewer restrictions on rideshare nationwide, and Austin was really the first to step up and say, no, we demand better. We're not going to let you walk all over us. We are going to stand our ground, and we're going to require that you meet certain safety characteristics. And when Uber and Lyft failed to do so, they said, okay, bye. We'll come up with our own rideshare system, and there were other companies ready to go. In Minneapolis, I do think that it's harder to move away from the current system. I understand that Uber and Lyft are very integrated now, that people have been using these apps for about a decade. So it's part of their daily life. And when you tell people that they're not going to have access to the apps, that can be scary. That can be a big jar. That said, the city council had made a decision. They looked at the evidence. They heard from the drivers. They heard from the big companies and the people that were on their side. And they decided that the rights of the drivers were paramount. And that's what needed to have, that's what they needed to focus on to protect the members of their community, to protect their labor force. And now we've got these big companies coming in again, trying to flex their muscles, say, we're going to leave. I don't really understand why the city council is second guessing itself. We're relitigating something that's already been decided. And it's pretty disheartening to see that they're going back on what they said they were going to do. They're really just folding under the pressure with information that they already had.
Yeah, that's how I took the article, and it's like, man, to be a fly on the wall in some of these closed door meetings. But I'm sure it's frustrating for everyone involved here because, like you said, this has already been decided. It got vetoed. It got over vetoed. Overwritten the veto. It became this is the deal. This is the ordinance, and now they're saying, well, it's not. And I understand the concerns. They're accurate concerns. But we've also talked about last week, there's at least 6 companies ready to go pretty much right now that can integrate into Minneapolis.
Yeah, I think it's short-sighted for Minneapolis to now come back and say, well, let's rethink what we were going to do because the big companies are going to leave. They knew that the big companies were threatening to leave. They also knew that there were these other smaller companies ready to step up. And they made the calculated decision, if these companies leave, we're going to be able to replace them. We've got the resources, either homegrown or companies from different states that are ready to step up to the challenge. And the city's not going to lose rideshare. The city's going to use different rideshare companies. So I just think it's really, disheartening to see such a win for the drivers in terms of driver pay, driver protections, potentially vanish because the city council got skittish and because they fell to public pressure. Like, they had all this information. They knew what they were doing. This was a months-long discussion. This was not like some one random city council meeting where somebody put this on the table and things got carried away and now all of a sudden there's no Uber and Lyft. This was a negotiation. And what they came out with was a solution that protects drivers and is ultimately good for their community. And now here they are, taking that win away.
Right. Yeah. We joked last week, just saying, I can't wait. We'll be talking about this, in May, what happens. But, now it's getting pushed to, it looks, I believe, July. And then it's, like you said, it's pretty disheartening. In July, they're going to push it again. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't give you much hope, though, for, these drivers who come together and fight so hard for a law that now is being told, well, maybe we'll consider it,
The only thing I can think of is maybe this leads to some sort of settlement where Uber and Lyft come to the table and they say, we really don't want to leave. We understand that drivers' rights and labor rights are important to you. So maybe this is an opening for a negotiation in terms of, some of the benefits come and maybe we set a floor of a minimum wage. And if we can get some wins, then maybe this is all worth it. But it's going to have to be fair for the drivers because they've already won this battle. It's like once you have the championship, you can't take away the trophy.
Right. Exactly.
So,
yeah.
so,
It's like Kanye. Let me finish. It's just
right.
ridiculous. I don't understand.
Yeah.
So it's good to hear your side on that because I also was confused, and I'm sure that a lot of people were confused and frustrated. We will see. We will see how this progresses. That's definitely the 3 topics we have this week. Brian, I'll give you the floor before we head off into the weekend.
Yeah, just reminding everybody as we head into the weekend that Legal Rideshare is always available should you find yourself injured or in an accident on the roadway. We are always available for free consultations, meaning you can talk to us on the phone if you've got questions about insurance claims, about what to do after an accident. We're going to help set up your case with a solid foundation so you don't miss any steps, fall in any loopholes. And ultimately, we're going to put money in your pocket for the things that you're entitled to. Your medical bills, your lost wages, your pain and suffering, you name it, whatever damage it is, we're going to help fight to recover it for you. So LegalRideshare.com has all of our contact information. And please do not hesitate to contact us because time is always of the essence.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian. And as I like to say, that is the end of this week in Rideshare. See you next week.